mortgage lending for barristers can be both complex and intricate. I'm here with Courtney Flockhart, who works extensively with barristers at all stages of their career. Courtney, let's start with barristers in pupillage. What does mortgage lending look like for them?
It can be quite difficult, really, because a lot of barristers in their pupillage will find that when they go to a bank, they're told that they can't get lending because it will be based on what we can prove on a tax return, and they're not going to have anything we can prove. So they're told that they can't do it. We can find a way. So we have pilots with a few lenders that are able to take into account their income, even when we can't prove it in what a standard way for a bank would be. So we can say, here's some reports from chambers, here's where we know their income's going based on other people we've used in those chambers that we've done mortgages for and all things like that. So we can prove it even if it doesn't meet the standard red line criteria that usually exists.
Yeah, and of course the tax return is so important typically in a mortgage application, and it's clearly where these will fall down. So that specialist knowledge, that specialist network seems really, really important.
Yeah, definitely, because a lot of, you'll just get computer says no responses, unfortunately. They'll see this and say, oh, well, that doesn't fit our criteria, that's a no to you. When these are the people that are going to earn hundreds and thousands of pounds in the next 3 or 4 years, because their income trajectory is so high.
So let's move on then. When a barrister has accepted tenancy, how does that change the appetite of lenders and the process of looking for the right deal?
The best thing is that opens up a lot more options. As soon as they have 1 year of figures, a lot more lenders are willing to lend, but there's still quite a limited market there, because a lot of lenders will want you to have 3 years accounts before they'll consider lending to you, whereas we can find options that will go on 1 year's accounts. And again, we'll use all of the information we have from their chambers and all of the information from their clerks to evidence that here's all this income. We know that they're going to keep increasing because we can prove that with what they've earned over the past 6 months. Because you can easily present that income, even though in a lot of cases it will be really sporadic, because they can work on a case for 6 months and get nothing, but then get a massive payment at the end.
So yeah, so the accounts, the tax returns can look really quite lumpy, and presumably there's a period of time for somebody who's established in chambers that a lender's going to look at and perhaps average out a little.
Yeah, once they've been there for 2 years, a lot of lenders are going to look to average 2 figures, unless, if unfortunately your latest year is lower, they'll in a lot of cases look to go by the latest only if it's lower. But we actually have lenders that if the latest is higher, we can get them to use that as well. Again, using information we have to say we can really prove that this client's income is just going to go higher and higher.
And if a barrister's appointed QC, does that change things?
Typically, yes. A lot of them will run into a situation where to become a QC, there's a lot of work to be done, there's a lot of studying to be done, but also there's a lot of pro bono to be done to get there. So doing all of that pro bono work will drop their income for the most recent year. But then their first year as a QC, you'll see income like a roller coaster, it'll go straight up. So then we'll have to explain why that is and how now being a QC, they're going to be even in higher demand than they were before, and then break down that the income will be what it was prior to being a QC and even higher than that. And
appointed a judge or a recorder again, another change and another process you have to go through. Yeah, a lot of lenders will get quite concerned and not understand that really. That's mainly based on the fact, or how can they possibly have 2 jobs? Well, we can explain that. We know that if you're a judge, you're only going to have a certain amount of hours. If you're a recorder, you're also only going to have a certain amount of hours you have to do. And that can easily fit into their role as a barrister as well, because there'll be times when they're not in court, there'll be times when they don't have a trial going. So all of that work can fit in with each other, and we just evidence that and explain it using our knowledge. And finally, COVID has had an impact recently, and what has that impact been? A lot of clients have taken what we call bounce back loans, coronavirus business interruption loans, and the main reason is because they were cheap. It was cheap money, so they took them based on some accountants' advice, and some just saw them and was like, well, that's a really cheap loan, why wouldn't I take it? But the problem is they had to agree that when taking that loan that their business was in financial difficulty. Plus, a lot of people took them because they were concerned. In March, nobody knew what was going to happen. So they took them out of pure concern, didn't even need the money, and a lot of them didn't even use them. But they took the money anyway, and a lot of lenders take that into account because they can see that, well, at one point you said the business was in distress. So is it okay now? Are we all okay? And it's just up to us, and we can evidence that, again, using everything we know to say, yes, they were concerned, but the income's right back up to where it used to be. So clearly a very specialist lending area, and you seem very well experienced and well placed to help. Yeah, I love barristers, so yeah.